I want to bring into the conversation Mikatekiso Kubayi, who is a senior researcher at the Institute for Global Dialogue. Mr. Kubayi, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for joining us. The trade deal is the most important part of tomorrow's meeting between President Cyril Ramaphosa and President Donald Trump, certainly according to the president.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Mr. Mvoko. Thank you so much for inviting me. Yes, of course, it's a very important occasion and a very important thing to negotiate. You have seen since the Trump administration came into effect at the beginning of this year, they've been looking to reset relations, with pretty much everyone, including South Africa. And, trade has been number one on the Trump administration's agenda since then. So it's a good opportunity to discuss and see what it is that we can, do that benefits, both, countries, equally in a win-win situation.
Well, second to that, if there was ever a pecking order, is the need, of course, to strengthen and consolidate relations between the two countries, certainly from what one was picking up from what the president was prepared to share with Zianda and the other journalists who had assembled there.
Well, it's very interesting, Bravoyo. The reality is, a president leaving the country to go and talk to the president of the United States at the White House surely has, a lot more to do with everything else. There's a lot more to it, than a Starlink, a license, and so on. Take for example. The rare earth, minerals, that we supply to the US and other metals, right? The AGOA, matter that everybody has been talking about. Our exports, of finished, automobile products. And so on and so forth, a whole range, of issues. I mean, this is just on trade and, not, relating to other things that the Trump administration has suspended, such as military cooperation, for instance, and, other, related matters. Of course, I suspect, that even the issue of Israel, for instance, might come up. The court, case at the ICJ and so on and so forth. All of these issues, I suspect, will, be on the table for conversation with President Donald Trump. So there's a full, basket, of issues for the two heads of state to discuss. What one expects, of course, is one, our sovereignty to be respected and protected. Secondly, that not only we achieve something that recognize recognizes respect for one another, but that is mutually beneficial, and not a we are the big boys, and we'll impose on you. Type of, arrangement. That's certainly what we expect, that, our president will be able to or should be able to achieve, there. There's certainly no doubt that, the US administration has decided that, look, we're resetting everything with everyone. The UK has been there, the French have been there, the Germans, the Canadians, everybody has been there because they are literally demanding, to reset, the trade arrangement with literally everybody at a bilateral level. So it will be very interesting. It will also be interesting if they even discuss, for instance, the WTO and, some of South Africa's projects, at the WTO.
Well, speaking of people who have been there, Zianda Ngobo, your president, saying, fear not, he's not afraid of a Zelensky moment.
Yeah, you know,
You know, South Africans are never embarrassed, he says. So that's exactly what the president's saying. Looking confident, also talking about how he also doesn't like to lose. Maybe perhaps an indication of just how confident he will be going into that meeting with a kind of buoyancy and swag and pedigree that one would need. They're both businessmen, Donald Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa. They both like golf, both fiercely competitive in that game. But the game that is going to be played tomorrow is the game of deals. Who's going to win the best deal? And we are in the era of transactional diplomacy. That's what, Donald Trump has espoused. You give me something, I give you something back. Soft power, not really something he's keen on. Hence the slashing of PEPFAR funding and other kinds of aid, not just to South Africa, but across the globe. Also resetting the United States' own relations with the rest of the world in his attempt to make America great again. But to what end then will this be achieved, and at what cost will this come for the South African government? I asked about South Africa's sovereignty. There are lots of concerns that, Mr. President, don't go and negotiate our country away. Yes, we have Ubuntu underpinning our South African foreign policy, and yes, this working visit is going to be focusing a lot on economics and bilateral relations and trade, but let's not undercut ourselves in this moment. President's mentioning jobs being a key focus, something that's also been emphasized by Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen earlier on, protecting the agricultural space in South Africa and getting further access to the U.S. market, citing wine, citrus, nuts being our key exports from South Africa. So the bartering will begin between the two, and whatever he hears from the likes of Park Stawu, who's probably one of the most key components of the South African delegation, will get a sense of, one, is the Starlink deal already on the table before the meeting with Trump tomorrow? Is this one of the conditions that the U.S. government has given to South Africa? And two, what else then is the U.S. side putting on the table? What conditions are we putting to them? And let's see how things go there, Vuyamvoko.
Let me bring you back, Mikatekiso, if I can. The president saying also that they will definitely discuss geopolitics.
Yeah, certainly. There's a lot to discuss. I mean, one could, refer to even the Russia-Ukraine, matter. South Africa is also a party to, processes, to help resolve, the challenges there. You could look at, issues, complaints, that the United States has had, or the Trump administration has had on a BRICS currency, for instance. There are all manner of things, to thresh out, a misconception to be put to rest. And so on, a whole range, of issues. And the big one, I certainly believe will be, that of Israel and Palestine, the ICJ, matter. There are so many of these issues, Bravoyo, one could think of. Take, the issue of UN reform, for instance, and the Trump administration's, attitude towards the United Nations in the first place, or the G20 and the role and participation of the United States in the current G20 with so many issues, that need resolutions. And for South Africa to even have a firm declaration of the G20 leaders at the summit in November, it would be very beneficial for that to happen with the presence and the affirmation of the U.S. administration, the Trump administration as well.
Right, Zianda, let me bring you back in. So that meeting would be underway by now, and from the conversations you've been having with at least the ministers who you were able to talk to, which was the Minister of International Relations, issues we're talking about now, geopolitics and the like. Steenhuisen also going to brief the president on what he reckons should be put on the table. Ndogozo Khumalo, our colleague, had a piece yesterday talking about citrus and other fruits. Nuts is an issue that John Steenhuisen mentioned. All of that going to be put on the table.
Absolutely. And of course, the key thing here is job creation and job sustainability. I mean, our unemployment figures came out, I think it was just last week, if not the week before. And our unemployment rate has increased over the last in the last quarter, I should say, the first quarter of 2025. And so they have an objective to achieve, not only as the presidency, but the 7th administration. They have a medium-term development plan in place, which is meant to be guiding them over the next 3 to 5 years. And so if you look at the piece done by our colleague Nasipi Same as well, talking about how agriculture in the Western Cape provides for around 200,000 jobs. And so this is why you would have seen both a Park Stawu and a John Steenhuisen, I beg your pardon, attending that meeting. Let's listen to what John said.
And we had a very open and frank exchange about how we can ensure mutually beneficial trade between South Africa and the United States of America, reiterating the importance of both markets for each other. Obviously, a lot of emphasis from America's side on wanting to rebalance some of the trade, and obviously from our side wanting to retain market access, but not with a 30% tariff. And so that was the discussion yesterday. We'll obviously be briefing the president today on the outcome of that meeting, what they put on the table, and some solutions on the way forward. But certainly, I think it was a constructive.
Tariffs, Mikatekiso, a big issue as well, as John Steenhuisen just said.
Yes, Budvuyo. It's a big issue. I mean, it has not only been a matter of serious concern for South Africa, but literally the whole globe. So much value has been wiped off stock exchanges, globally, since the Trump administration gave effect to this tariff. So it's very important. You'll be aware, of course, that AGOA is a tariff dispensation as well. It's what is it, unilateral, if you like, because it's an American feature, to assist, developing economies from Africa, including South Africa. It's a unilateral one. But, it's a major issue that, some experts have been arguing that the administration may be even trying to shift, change the world order, reset the world order using, the Trump, the tariff, the new tariff measures that they've put in place. Africa is found in a tight spot, where, for instance, there's this competition between the US and China, and Africa expected to pick sides and things of that nature. We are not immune to this, Bravoyo. And certainly, we have to negotiate, for our end, what, a deal can best suit us, that what deal can best benefit us. And I like the fact that President also, went a little further than that. It's not just about, trade, but it's also looking for investment as well. So even, in the face, of all of these, attacks, onslaught from the US side, we're still going there and saying that, hey, look, South Africa is, is an attractive investment destination. Not only can we discuss, trade and, trade terms, tariff terms, and all of that, but, we're also, open, and friendly to investment and so on. We have an agenda. We want to grow jobs. We want to build this economy. We want to industrialize. Right, and that's certainly a message that one can expect will be delivered to the Trump administration.
Well, hopefully, another question, or one of the big questions that will be settled, hopefully once and for all, will be the question of whether or not the Americans are still keen to have South Africa being part of AGOA. This matter has been with us for quite some time. Hopefully tomorrow at that meeting, they will be forthright about whether or not they still want to keep us there. Mikatekiso Kubayi, let me thank you very much for your time.